Hey, what's going on? I'm Kurt Bob. Thanks for tuning in today. Random, but I woke up this morning and I got an email from Bassnectar. Now, if you were a former fan years ago, he had some allegations come out against him that were pretty scary and fell off the map for probably good reason. But we get an email from him this morning reaching out. Over the past several years, the Bassnectar Project has been building a new landscape for our beautiful community to connect, share, and celebrate together. We know you're out there. We know how special what we all built together is and will always be. We also know how deeply painful it was to experience everything that was so magical be torn down. But the pain we all felt is something we can heal together. In time, we'll be able to put words to these feelings. But for now, give us money. Sorry. But for now, our team is inspired to speak through art, music, and creative expression. And we're absolutely bursting with energy to share. We've designed the other side, that's the name of the project, to be a direct outlet for imagination, as well as a centralized hub of transmission, interaction, and nurturing for our community. Nurturing, huh? It's many months in the making. It is many months in the making and will be launching in full effect in the coming weeks. In the meantime, we'll invite you to enjoy a glimpse of what's to come. You can join early to be a part of the creative process right now. You can explore new music and a brand new horizon as we build together. Live in the moment. And then there's a place to unlock the other side and start listening to the new music. So putting out new music is going to maybe come back on tour or maybe start doing creative stuff. But what about those sexual abuse allegations? Did they go away? Was it minor stuff that more was an apology and therapy, or was it grosser? Like, what's going on, you know? So I found an article. It's from 2022, April of 2022, basically talked briefly about the allegations and that the trial begins discovery in 2023, which is now. And I was actually able to find what the lawsuit is, and it only starts on line 38. But I'm going to read this lawsuit to you, because I just want to see it all go through the system, and I want the truth to come out. If it's false, I want these people that made this up to go to jail for what they did to everyone that's a huge fan of this person and for defaming this name. But if he did this stuff, I never want to go see him again, and I hope you don't either. I mean, let me just read it. It speaks for itself, I think. And like I said, this is from Twitter, so this is my perception of what's real, but there's always room for things to be fake, right? Through these communications, Bassnectar had personal knowledge that both plaintiffs were underage. Nevertheless, Bassnectar supplied tickets, travel arrangements for plaintiffs to attend his performances. Plaintiffs were subsequently invited to his hotel room, where Bassnectar had sex with them, which Bassnectar mandated be without the use of a condom. Well, of course. In exchange for sexual encounters, Bassnectar gave plaintiffs cash in amounts ranging from $300 to $1,600. Bassnectar mandated tight control over plaintiffs, requiring them to follow certain rules, including keeping the relationship secret. This included avoiding being seen in public together, not allowing the plaintiffs to leave the hotel rooms or answer the phone in Bassnectar's hotel room, demanding that any sexual intercourse be unprotected, as in without the use of a condom, demanding the plaintiffs shower before Bassnectar had unprotected sex with them so that they were, quote, clean, requiring plaintiffs to take sexually explicit photographs of themselves and send them to Bassnectar, and plaintiffs were not allowed to have sex with anyone else, but Bassnectar could have sex with other women. At the heart of this action, Bassnectar's use of the Bassnectar companies to facilitate and enable the sex trafficking of underage girls in the United States. Evidence against Bassnectar was this in June 53. Oh. Okay. Disclaimer. This jumps from line 43 to line 53. So this is the plaintiff's allegations. I imagine this person is skimming it for brevity or something, but I'm just being honest with you. This ended at line 43, and we're picking up on line 53. In June 2020, an Instagram account was created titled Evidence Against Bassnectar, where dozens of young and underage girls detailed the ways in which they were victimized by Bassnectar. Terrified of his legal conduct being exposed, Bassnectar contacted plaintiffs, telling them that they were special and that he would always love them, going so far as to offer them money in an attempt to coerce and manipulate the plaintiffs into staying silent. Plaintiff Rachel, I'm not going to say her last name, you can find it on Twitter, not too hard, became a fan of Bassnectar in high school and followed the Bassnectar Twitter account. In September 2012, after tweeting about Bassnectar's show cancellation, Rachel was contacted by defendant Bassnectar through a private message on Twitter. Bassnectar informed Rachel that he would be playing a show in Nashville, in her home state of Tennessee. The first Bassnectar show went to was his New Year's Eve show in Nashville 2012. Bassnectar knew Rachel was underage at the time, but had wanted to see Rachel the next day regardless. Rachel did not meet with him because she was with her brother at the time. However, Bassnectar provided his phone number and email address and maintained communication with Rachel every day or every other day from the end of September 2012 until May of 2013. Every day or every other day. During this time, Bassnectar was aware that Rachel was a minor in high school. Bassnectar would read Rachel's school assignments and even asked her to write one for him. Bassnectar said the paper he wanted Rachel to write about would take about 4 or 5 hours. Bassnectar manipulated Rachel and gained the trust of Rachel by presenting himself as a friend and mentor, discussing school and offering his advice. Yet his communications had sexual undertones, grooming Rachel for what would later become Bassnectar sexually abusing and exploiting Rachel while she was still a child under the age of 18. Examples include, but are not limited to, asking her what she would do if they met, telling her that every guy wants to have sex with her, directing Rachel to break up with her high school boyfriend at the time, which she did, telling Rachel her last name blows him away and was really sexy, those are in quotes, asking about her social life and having Rachel engage in phone sex with him. In May 2013, Bassnectar was in Memphis performing at Beale Street Music Festival. On or about May 3rd, 2013, Rachel met Bassnectar at the Marriott Hotel in Memphis. Instead of meeting in the lobby as originally planned, Bassnectar directed Rachel to meet him in the elevator. When she did, Bassnectar did not say a word to Rachel. Instead, Bassnectar took Rachel to his hotel room and had sex with her. Bassnectar refused to wear a condom and never asked if Rachel was on birth control. Bassnectar provided Rachel with $1,000 in mixed bills after he had sex with her. Approximately several weeks later, Bassnectar wanted to celebrate Rachel's birthday in Nashville and invited Rachel to stay with him at Lowe's Hotel. Bassnectar kept Rachel in the hotel room for approximately 4 days. During that time, Bassnectar required Rachel to hide when the room service came and became angry when she answered the phone. In addition to the sexual abuse described herein, Bassnectar was very controlling of Rachel, including but not limited to advising Rachel of the friends she should have, telling Rachel she should not pursue modeling, directing her choice of major in college, and pressuring Rachel to change her last name as no one would ever take it seriously. Further, Rachel was required to follow Bassnectar's rule. She was not allowed to have sex with anyone else, but he could have sex with whomever he wanted, and unprotected sex with Rachel whenever he wanted. On numerous occasions, when Rachel was a minor, Bassnectar solicited Rachel to take and send sexually explicit photographs of herself while naked. Rachel complied. As such, Bassnectar engaged in the manufacture and possession of child pornography on numerous occasions. November 2023 was the last time Bassnectar and Rachel saw each other in person. After the Me Too movement began in 2016, Bassnectar reached out to Rachel, checking in with her often and telling her, "You know I love you." In 2019, Shortly after Rachel had started therapy as a result of what Bassnectar did to her, she decided to tell Bassnectar for the first time she was suffering as a result of what he did to her when she was a minor. Bassnectar attempted to justify his behavior again using manipulation tactics. Bassnectar offered to pay for Rachel's therapy or fly out for a therapy session with Rachel. After being publicly exposed in June 2020, Bassnectar began incessantly reaching out to Rachel. When she blocked his number, he continued to attempt to initiate contact via the messaging app WhatsApp. Bassnectar also emailed her before his last attempt to contact her on WhatsApp. Bassnectar and Rachel spoke on June 3, 2020. During the phone conversation, Rachel confronted Bassnectar about the fact she was taken advantage of, trafficked, and that what happened between them was statutory rape. In response, Bassnectar admitted his abuse of Rachel was so inappropriate and that he did was completely wrong. Bassnectar admitted that he engaged with multiple women who were too young, quote, and acknowledged in his own words that there was an imbalance of power dynamic due to his age and the fan-celebrity dynamic, his male privilege and the celebrity privilege. During the call, Bassnectar confessed that he abused his power, stating that you weren't complicit, going so far as to apologize to Rachel for, quote, exploiting you and taking advantage of you when you were so impressionable, end quote. Ironically, Bassnectar repeatedly stated he would, quote, take accountability, end quote, and, quote, make an example of myself, quote. Yet he blamed Rachel for his inability to do so, quote. I could be doing so much more if it wasn't for one person who could push a button and put me in fucking jail, end quote. Importantly, Bassnectar admitted his conduct was illegal and reinforced his risk of going to jail numerous times through the conversation. If you think it's worth me living forever in Tennessee jail to be raped or beaten to death, ... end quote. Quote, did you think I deserve to be in jail in Tennessee, end quote? Quote, the one thing that gets in the way is if I have to go to a Tennessee jail for life, end quote. Quote, do you understand me taking accountability over the phone with you right now is colored by the fact that me talking to you can result in Tennessee jail that is not a 6-month sentence. There is only one person who has the potential to take me from being really sorry to being raped in Tennessee jail. This skips 84, picks up at 85. Alexis was a fan of Bassnectar in high school and tweeted to Bassnectar on or around her 17th birthday. All right, this is a second plaintiff. Bassnectar contacted Alexis through a direct messaging app wishing her happy birthday. Throughout her senior year, Bassnectar, through the @Bassnectar Twitter account, would reply to her tweets. Around April 2014, Bassnectar provided Alexis with his personal emails and contacted her via email offering her tickets to his Las Vegas show. Alexis drove to Las Vegas but was not permitted to the venue because she was under the age of 18, which made me remember how he was pumping up the last couple of years. How his shows were all ages. We're going to go to Mexico, but it's all ages. All right. Alexis reached out to Bassnectar to see if there was anything he could do, but he could not help her. Instead, Bassnectar directed her and arranged for her to meet near his hotel. Bassnectar met Alexis near his hotel, where he took her into the bushes and hid for approximately 6 hours, kissing and touching Alexis. Afterwards, Bassnectar paid Alexis $300 in cash and instructed her to download the Wicker messaging app so they could stay in touch. On or around July 1st, 2014, Bassnectar flew to Kentucky to visit Alexis. She picked him up from the airport and took him to the Lexington Griffin Gate Marriott, where he stayed for 4 days. During the visit, Ashton had sex with Alexis. Bassnectar paid Alexis $1,600 after he had sex with her. So it's $300 for fooling around, $1,600 for the old full, unprotected sex. Just to be clear. Approximately 2 weeks later, Bassnectar again visited Alexis again and stayed at the Hyatt Hotel in Cincinnati for 3 or 4 days. On approximately August 1st, 2014, Bassnectar again visited Alexis and stayed at a hotel in Covington, Kentucky. He again stayed for 3 or 4 days. During each visit, Bassnectar had sex with Alexis multiple times. On numerous occasions, Bassnectar solicited Alexis to take and send sexually explicit photographs of herself while naked. Alexis complied. It skips a line, 96 to 98. Following the death of her father, Bassnectar told Alexis that he could offer guidance and advice to Alexis like a father and do all the things a father would do for her, like pay her $1,600 for sex. Bassnectar directed and controlled every aspect of Alexis' life, telling her what she could or could not do, who she could hang out with, and what she could wear, etc. Bassnectar required that Alexis not tell anyone about Bassnectar's contact with her, physical or otherwise. Bassnectar also ensured and required that he was not to be seen in public with Alexis, and vice versa. Bassnectar lied to Alexis, telling her that the reason she couldn't tell anyone about their contact or be seen in public with her is because he had never dated a younger girl and didn't want to be judged, and that no one would understand their love. Between 2014 to 2016, Bassnectar paid for and flew Alexis all over the country to see him while he was on tour. On most of these visits, Bassnectar would make Alexis stay in the hotel room the entire time. Bassnectar would have sex with Alexis during these visits. This occurred in approximately 10 different states. I'm such a bad reader, you guys. In December 2015, Bassnectar had Alexis fly to California to visit him at his home in Oakland. Upon arrival, Bassnectar directed Alexis to take an Uber to a mini-mart near his house. This store was located at the base of his neighborhood, and Bassnectar picked her up there. The majority of the visit was spent in Bassnectar's home. Bassnectar had sex with Alexis during that time. Afterwards, Bassnectar gave Alexis tickets to his show in Virginia. This is how it reads. Alexis was studied interior design, and Bassnectar informed Alexis that he could get her a job with prestigious Deborah Burke design firm. Alexis applied for the job and was scheduled for a telephone interview. Bassnectar was present for the telephone interview as Alexis was in his house in California at the time. During the telephone interview, Alexis was asked why she knew about a San Francisco position, given that she had a Kentucky address. At that point, Bassnectar took the phone and hung up. In 2016, Bassnectar had Alexis fly out to see him at his home for the last time. On June 13th, 2020, Bassnectar contacted Alexis and told her about allegations of a music teacher of his high school having sexual conduct with a minor. However, in an attempt to manipulate Alexis, Bassnectar told Alexis what happened between them was nothing like that. He told Alexis how special she was to him and he would always love her in an attempt to maintain Alexis's loyalty and prevent her from speaking out against his unlawful conduct. Moreover, following the posting of evidence against Bassnectar on Instagram, the head of Bassnectar's charitable organization contacted Alexis in an attempt to further manipulate and silence Alexis from speaking out about what Bassnectar did to her as a minor. Alexis had suffered substantial physical and psychological injuries and emotional distress as a result of being sexually abused, exploited, and trafficked. So, that is the allegations that are out there. Okay? That's what people are saying in the court of law, according to my perception. It's my understanding of what's happening. And this is how he addresses it. Reaching out. Over the past several years, blah, 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 blah. I mean, he wants to come back right now, but he hasn't said a word beside, I've hurt some people. I guess after reading this lawsuit and then reading some of his publications and stuff, it just seems like he's trying to manipulate his fans as he allegedly manipulated his victims and doing this. I mean, to say that what a loss that we all suffered, I mean, yeah, the guy suffered a loss, but he brought that upon himself, you know? It is what it is. you got to reap what you sow. And it sounds like he's really sorry that he got caught. I think he really thought he wasn't going to get caught. And I really thought he could, I think he thought he could manipulate them into being quiet, or that it would go away, or maybe because they were just 17, it wasn't as illegal. Maybe some states, maybe Canada. I don't know what's going on in the man's head, but if this stuff is true, gross, and I hope he sees his day in court over it. And if it's not true, I hope something happens to the people that would drum up some sort of false stuff like this. So, but gosh darn it, I don't want it to be true, but I just have to look at all the evidence objectively and just see it for what it is. And it just seems scary enough for me to not click on and listen to any new music for a while, and it's scary for me to be, I'm kind of grossed out by that email, dude. It just seems like a total gloss over gaslight this, like I said, this case begins discovery early 2023. So, a lot of these allegations were in 2012, 2013, 2014, when me and my friends were going to see him. And to think he had a 17-year-old girl just waiting in the hotel room whenever he was done. Like, he was using us in a way. We were there for the music. Let's be honest. It was good stuff. But R. Kelly made good music too. Just because you are good at one thing doesn't cover up bad actions. And you can't cover it up by gaslighting and glossing it over either. That's just insulting. Even if the allegations are completely false and fabricated, and that phone recording is false and fabricated, and the texts and emails, which appear to be true screen caps, are all false and fabricated, well, come out and be pissed. Wouldn't you be fucking pissed? If someone did that shit to me, I would be livid, and I would be showing what I was doing. Well, here's me texting people my age on all those nights. Here's me humming it up with people my age. Here's the exchanges with women my age that I've been banging. That will all come out in court, hopefully. So I'm not saying the dude's guilty. I'm saying I hope the truth comes out, whatever the truth is. And whoever's at fault here, or whoever's nefarious in this situation, I hope sees their day in court, because a lot of people have suffered. EDM fans, who you gone to see lately? I went to see Grizz. I went to see Grizzmas this year in Detroit, and it was awesome. So I'm looking forward to go and see maybe the Sponges or something. So sorry for the long one, but just need to be out there, man. I'm just a regular dude minding my own business, going to work. I don't have any, I'm not making money off this video unless it gets clicks, but I'll probably get 300 views. I just want truth out there, man, and I just don't like bold-faced liars. And there's clearly a bold-faced liar around here, or two. And I want to get to the goddamn bottom of it before I ever support this music again. Well, I think that'll do it. Sucks, man. But accountability is accountability. It's like watching a friend die to a drug overdose. You watching someone fall from decisions they made. But that's on them. You can't undo that behavior from someone else. Well, thank you very much for viewing, and good luck out there.